when I observed her, and then her color, I thought she was deceased at that point. As a police officer, they train you to expect the unexpected, but even as much time I've had on, at 3:11 in the afternoon, that was the furthest thing from my mind. On that day, I was actually on my way into work. I ended up behind this vehicle. I noticed that it was driving what I termed as erratic. After I made contact with the driver, and he actually went unconscious, I wanted to render first aid and call for assistance.
When I showed up, that's when I observed both of them passed out and near dead.
It was during school time. I saw a lot of people there with their kids. There's a bus stop right there where all this was happening. And the first thing I saw coming from my angle is I said, there's a kid in the backseat. I went around the back end of it, opened the door up. He was really shy, really scared, and I don't blame him.
I could just see the pain and the trauma in his eyes. I decided to take several photographs to document the incident for courtroom evidence.
I just unfastened the boy from his car seat, and he eventually turned and looked at me and then just like climbed up on me. And he's wrapped around here on my side, sitting on my gun belt, and I could just feel this little kid's heart pounding, you know, right up on my rib cage here. I was calling for Children's Services, and our dispatcher called back saying they need some information. And I was pretty heated, I'm not gonna lie. I yelled back over the radio, you know, just tell them get their butts here now. Fred says, well, let's send them a picture of this and then they'll see why they need to get their butts here.
I was born and raised here in East Liverpool. It's a great place to grow up. You know, you learn a lot about hard work. Unfortunately, since that time, things have really deteriorated. 75% of our population receives some form of assistance from the federal government. And that's really the tragedy that we're dealing with here.
Right now, opioids are definitely our biggest problem because the people are dying from it.
What we were seeing lately.
It's not just heroin, it's the fentanyl, the carfentanil. That's where they're overdosing because they're so strong.
We got an epidemic, and not only us, small town America does.
Oh, he ain't getting up, man.
It's across the country, it's every small department. We're fighting and fighting and fighting this. It's frustrating. We're losing the battle. We're losing. We're trying. We're gonna keep fighting, but we're losing. This is something that's been stirring for the past 5-6 years. And I think it's culminated into one big incident now.
After the driver had pled guilty, the police chief showed me the photograph. And I just stood there silently. I couldn't believe that someone would put that little boy in that position. Sadly, it happens a lot. But this is the first time where it was actually captured in a photograph.
We were all in agreement that it should be seen.
We talked about how we could alter the child's face. You couldn't get the story. And unfortunately, as a public official, it's a felony for me to blur that photo.
There's no number of words that can paint that type of picture.
Coming into work the next day, I could not believe the views that the picture had, you know, and how many times it was shared. We kind of looked at each other like, well, good, let's get this out there.
Releasing that picture made things happen immediately that would have probably not even happened at all, or if it, at the very best would have taken years. It definitely got him out of there, and that was the most important part.
That picture started getting agencies and policymakers and law enforcement talking about the epidemic that's going on, and it drew attention to more resources, access for people needing treatment. We're opening a new clinic in East Liverpool in conjunction with the outpatient services we already have due to the need in the community.
Look what's happening in our little community of 13,000 people. We live in a day and age, unfortunately, where people think there are no lines, that anything should be out there, it's fair game in these type of circumstances. And here we're dealing with a 4-year-old little boy who can't necessarily make those type of decisions as to whether or not he wanted to be in that photograph. The family has been trying diligently, though, to protect him. 20 years from now, is it going to be that this is the image of the heroin epidemic?
As a clinician, I feel that it's my job to be able to advocate for people that are struggling with addiction. I think that posting photos of addicts does probably have them feel pretty shameful and embarrassed. These pictures might keep somebody from reaching out for help because they feel nobody cares about me. They should have just let me die and not used that Narcan.
We know what we did, and we're all confident in what we did was right. So if it upsets you, I'm sorry, but this is reality.
I would do it again. If the same situation arises tonight, that will be posted.
I never would have dreamed that this picture would have had the power that it has, that you're sitting here interviewing me. I get people from the state calling me to help. They never called me before. That's all from the power of one picture.